Hey everybody, Nick with Yoda Survival and Off-Road. And today I have decided that I am going to take you out there into the driveway and we're going to do a walkthrough or a walk around of the Yoda, my 1986 Toyota four-wheel drive pickup. Every other country but this one it was called a Hilux. Slightly different body style. But a little bit of background on the truck. It is a 1986. It started out life as a independent front suspension truck with a 2.4 liter 22R carbureted motor, naturally aspirated. It had the 5-speed and the Toyota gear drive transfer case, an independent front suspension, of course, like I said. And it's a regular cab. Had factory AC, although that didn't work when I got the truck. It was the base model, basically. Didn't even have a tachometer. The original gauge cluster had a speedo, fuel gauge, and a temperature gauge, and that was it. So it's really odd that it was such a base truck with gauges and everything else, but it had AC in it. I think that might be because it was an original Arizona truck. That's where I picked it up, was down when I was living in northern Arizona in Prescott Valley area. So it's a pretty neat truck. I've got a lot of mods done to it, and yeah, let's go take a walk around. It should be kind of interesting. Alright guys, so this is Yoda. As you can see on his tailgate, the first thing that's probably unnoticeable right off the bat is the giant tanks on top of the bed. Those are actually my fuel tanks. The truck runs on propane, and this is a I think it's 46 or 48 liquid propane gallons. It's massive. When I bought the tank, I bought it sight unseen because I was looking for a I was just looking for a main tank for the truck, and the price was right. It was $400. The guy really did me a solid on this tank. It's in great shape. It looks a bit rusty because it's lived in the Wyoming weather for quite a few years on a truck, but it fits the style of me and everything else that I do. You can see my main line plumbed right off of the liquid side. The truck runs on liquid propane, not the vapor. I'll show you where all the magic happens up there. The bed, aside from the custom tailgate and my license plate from Arizona, is giving away something kind of important. But the truck has a 15-inch bob on the bed. You can actually see my really ugly seam. It was one of the first seams I ever did with a welder on a bed trying to bob it. And it's not the prettiest, but it got the job done. The bumper is also not right. If you can see the weld there, and there's another one on the other side right over there. This bumper is actually off of a 1994 Ford F-150 that me and a friend of mine cut down, narrowed to fit the truck. So other obvious things is the truck is not stock height. The rear has a set of 4-inch Pro Comp leaf springs. It has a set of, I believe, Pro Comp shocks on it as well for the 4-inch lift for the Toyotas. It's got a Chevy half-ton wheel, 16-inch, with currently it's got a set of 285 75 16s, which is equivalent to a 33 1250 15. Before we get to the interior, the truck has the full-size normal doors on it right now. I do have a set of half doors back there in the garage somewhere. I was going to dig them out, and I should have before I started the video, but that's my fault. So under the front end, you can see all this work that I've done here. This truck was an independent front suspension truck back in the day. And down in here you can see the motor mount that I've had to cut and weld a plate over to reinforce the motor mount, new bump stops, shock hoops that have been welded on, the spring shackles that I had to punch through the frame, the mounts for. and my leaf springs. This kit on the front of this is a Trail Gear solid axle conversion kit, and I got it with the 4-inch HD springs because I thought the front end was going to be a lot heavier than it is. You can see my ugly, nasty booger welds in there, and all around that. And this is the front spring perch. My cowbell, it's my gremlin bell actually, if you want to be really technical. And the mount goes all the way across over to here and welds. My front bumper, well, the beginning of my front bumper, it is also a Trail Gear part. It is a Trail Gear winch bumper base plate. It's what they base all of their big tube bumpers, their rock crawler bumpers off of. So this is going to be the base for my bumper. My radiator is kind of another indication that there's something not quite right under the hood of this truck. It's got, oh yeah, these really cool conversion headlights. Get rid of the composite bulb, the glass sealed beam bulb, and put a composite 9003 bulb in it. Works great. It's got my high, my low. It was a straight plug and play. A lot of massaging that I've done under the hood over the years. And the Bilsteins on the front on this thing on both sides. You look really close, you can see that there's something really not right in here. Oh, on top of everything else, it's got a 3-inch body lift on it that I had to do to get it up high enough to get enough firewall clearance for my small block 350 to fit under here. This has, it's a bone stock 195 horse GM crate motor. It is a 4-bolt main, brand new motor. It's got probably close to 2,800 to, no, it's not even that much. It's only got between 1,600 and 1,800 miles on it right now with this motor in it. This truck is really, truly custom. My propane kit all runs up here and feeds into this big boy. This is the vaporizer for the GOT propane fueling system. The liquid propane comes into here through this filter. There's a solenoid on the backside, and that solenoid is the fuel cutoff. So if I ever kill the main power in the truck, it automatically shuts the fuel off and automatically shuts the distributor off. So it kills all of my ignition and kills all my fuel. That's a very important feature that I felt I had to have. My main switch is the first switch in my panel, and it's the one that I reach for in case something bad is about to happen. It does the job well. I haven't actually had a bad thing happen, but I had something come close and I reached up and smacked that switch and everything died instantly, just the way it was designed to, which made me happy. So under this massive air filter is the propane mixing head. Now, this propane mixing head is rated up to 650 horsepower. This whole kit is. It was designed for a vehicle up to 650 horse. So it's a V8 kit from GOT Propane. It was specifically built for V8 engines, this kit was. Very good company, very good product. This kind of is going to turn into a little bit of a product placement for GOT Propane, because I have a lot of respect for the man that came up with this design. He has done a lot of work over the last 20 some odd years trying to get this kit perfected, and he has done one hell of a good job at it. I feel anyone that's interested in getting into alternative fuels, which is something that I have talked about in the past, needs to look at these guys, especially if you have an older carbureted engine. These guys build some of the best kits on the planet, if not the best kit, in my opinion. Really reasonable priced. This kit only cost me $900 or $995 shipped to the door, and the best investment I have ever made. This truck builds a ton of power with this kit. Like I said, it's a stock 195 horse motor. with the ignition system, the headers, the aluminum intake, and the propane kit. I'm estimating it at approximately 230 to 260 horsepower. That's just what it feels like. It's an educated guess, not very educated, but it is an educated guess. I haven't had it on a dyno. I don't have that kind of money. I don't honestly care what kind of horsepower it actually produces. I just wanted, you know, it's just really cool. It gets me down the road. It gets me anywhere I want to go. It's a really good crawler. I've got an aluminum radiator out of a Toyota, or for a Toyota Land Cruiser with a Chevy conversion, with my big 12-inch squirrel fan on it, electric fan to keep the engine cool. This thing does phenomenally well. Even in the summertime, keeps it really nice and cool. The headers are pretty trick. I had to get those from eBay. They've got a massive plate on there. These ones are a very, very short tuck header. They end right there, as you can see, and this truck is tight under here. Everything back from the engine is all GM. It's a SM 465 4-speed transmission out of a 1-ton Chevy pickup. Sorry, I'm being attacked by flies here. I got biting flies in my area. Beyond that, there is, underneath the truck here, there is my SM 460, my NP 205 transfer case on a custom modified cross member, heavily custom modified Toyota cross member. It is quite ugly, but it gets the job done. My dual exhaust is flex pipe that goes back here into a Flowmaster Delta 40 with the end caps flipped. So it has a 3-inch outlet and dual 2.5 inlet. The truck literally is like everything else that I do. It has been heavily modified with the least amount of money possible, using as much recycled, upcycled, salvaged, scavenged. The only things I really had to pay for, or pay big money for, was the engine, which cost me $1,400. My front driveline I had to have built. My rear driveline I had to have built. The guys here in Casper that built this driveline for me did a really, really good job. This thing does not shake, it doesn't vibrate, it is crazy. Especially with the angle that this driveline has at the yoke, at the differential, and how extreme the angle is up here at the transfer case. This thing rightfully should vibrate, but it doesn't. The front shaft does vibrate a bit because the angle is so extreme. I've got too much front end underneath it. I've got too much lift for how short a stretch it is. As it goes, if you know the old saying, live and learn. I really needed to learn, so I did it and learned from the errors that I made. Let's see. Into the cab. I've still got the factory door panels, which is kind of nice. On both of the doors, I've got my oldest daughter's car seat in here right now. She loves riding with me. This truck originally had a bench seat, and now it's got these two buckets out of a 1994 or 95 T100. Actually fit amazingly. I was blown away. My dash is quite sparse, to say the least. I've got my current mount for my cell phone, which is my speedometer, and then I've got my temperature, battery, and oil pressure gauges, and a tack down there, and then my dash panel to control everything in the truck. That's my ignition, my fuel, my main power, headlights, tail lights. My turn signals as of yet do not work. My cooling fan is run off of this. My rock lights are going to be run out of this panel. All the wiring had to be completely gutted and redone. The truck sat for about 9 years, and in that 9 years it got destroyed. The wiring was just absolutely demolished by rodents. And I have vacuumed and cleaned this truck out 100 times over now, and I'm still finding traces of rodents in this thing. It's gross, but it's cleaner now. I've got, when I drive it in the wintertime, there's no heater in the truck, so I've got to wrap my shift tower in a shipping blanket because I don't have all the holes patched yet, and everything's furry and gross from the rotting moving blanket, but patched with a bunch of old license plates as of for now. Kinda, sorta put together, seems to fit the theme of the rest of the truck anymore. Yeah, so, yep, well, so that's the Yoda. It's a killer little truck. I've had it for the better part of 12 years. I love this thing. It's been a project for most of its life. It's going to continue to be a project until it's not a project anymore, which will probably be when I'm dead. Yeah, this is the truck that I was talking about in the video about alternative fuels. Gets about anywhere from 8 to 12 miles to the gallon, depending on the weather, how things are looking, you know, how traffic conditions, how I drive it. If I drive like an absolute jerk, it does terrible. It gets 7-8 miles to the gallon. Same thing in the wintertime. Wintertime, it's just so cold. The way the kit works, the way the propane kit works, is it constantly adjusts itself for altitude, and it's better than most typical carburetors because you don't have to retune it when it gets cold out or when it gets warm out. You don't have to retune it for altitude. You get it tuned to the altitude that you live at, and then if you go down or up in altitude, it auto adjusts. Super nice kit. Really, really nice kit. I thought I had problems with it, but it turned out it was actually the first motor that was in this truck, which is still buried back there in the garage, was garbage. When I pulled the intake off of it after running it for about 2,000 miles, I found puddles of metal in the lifter valley. There's a long story as to why that happened. I'm not going to get into it because it sucked. But now the truck's happy, it's healthier. The radiator leaks every now and then, but it seems to keep self-healing, which is interesting. It'll stop leaking for a few days, and then it'll leak, and then it'll stop leaking, then it'll leak, then it'll stop leaking. I have to get another radiator. Comes down to it. And if I have to put another radiator in it, I'm going to move it into the bed here so that I can actually get a real radiator in there, fix the front end, get it put back together right, and then get it so that the hood will close all the way, because the radiator is what's holding the hood up. And I guess I didn't show you that part. But oh well, that is what it is. So, yeah, this is my 1986 Toyota Hilux. This is Yoda. This is where my channel gets its name and where apparently I get my nickname. So, yeah. If you like the video, you think about giving me a thumbs up. Try subscribe. I'd like to invite you to subscribe. I've got, like I said, more videos coming. I just posted 2 more today. Hopefully I'll get this one out tonight. Get another one recorded this afternoon or tomorrow. So a lot of interesting stuff coming. Thanks for checking me out. And remember, stay safe and dirty side down.